This is spontaneous. First guy. Wah! Hi. Let's read in the chat. Oh my god, yes! This is this man. Can you hear me okay, guys? When does it start? It's starting right now. Hey, yo, from Florida, hey. Oh my god, this is so fast. Good afternoon, Mr. Cropper. Good afternoon. My middle name's James. It's Ryan, yes. Oh, yes, bro. Hey. So many people already. Really? Oh, 119. Oh. Oh, wow, now it's blowing up. Ryan, I have a question. I tried to accept it. I got a question. Where do you recite from? What do you mean by recite? LA. Whew. Now it's starting to slow down the chat. Virginia. Love my ass off all the notification squad rolling in. What? My homie. How are you? I'm doing great, thanks. This is blowing up. Right. Hello, right, JC. Talk about selenite crystal. Maybe. Let me just get into this first. Good afternoon, Ryan. Love all your stuff. Life's gone by now. Hello. You know, so happy watching this. My mouth is just, it's not even working anymore. I can't keep up with the comments. Oh, okay. So I think you guys can hear me fine. Otherwise, you would have mentioned it already. Namaste. Now I'm starting to feel funny. Greetings. Do I have a book? I have a book in the making. This is too fast. I can keep up. Not reading that one out loud. Oh, okay, there we go with the emojis. That's the first sign. Well, it's the easiest way to get my attention. Does witchcraft work? Yes, it does. To an extent. Hey, man. Big fan. Hey. Africa, baby. Someone just asked if I'm breatharian. I will answer that in a sec. I'm just still running through this. It's quite funny. Oh, it's actually, oh my god, it actually stopped. There was like a momentary pause of about 3 seconds where it's slowing, like now it's slowing down. Okay. I think we should dive straight into the Q&A spontaneous Q&A. Because I was in the shower and I thought to myself, you know what I like doing? I like talking to people online because it makes me happy. So, let's do it. Okay. Somebody asked, Ryan, are you breatharian? I'm gonna give some info on that. Okay, breatharian. Your body has more than one way of attaining energy from its nearby surroundings. You obviously have the food, right? You eat food and that gives you some kind of energy if you're eating the right kind of food. Otherwise, if you eat the wrong kind of food, you're going to feel sluggish pretty darn fast. I'm talking about kebabs, Chinese food, all that jazz. And you also have the sun. Okay, now these ways of attaining energy aren't to be confused with eating at all. Okay, each way is unique unto itself when it comes to how it affects the body and how it keeps you alive, aware, and awake. There's this one main thing to keep in mind here, and I'll go into that in more detail in a sec. So you have the sun. You have the sun. You look at the sun, and the first thing the sun does is it wakes you up. It kickstarts serotonin within your brain and other kinds of hormonal factors within your what do you call it? Glandular system. Yeah. So the sun has a massive effect on your nervous system. Also, it keeps you very much awake, very much awake. That is why when you stare at the sun sometimes in the morning, it helps you wake up. And then it's also why if you leave the curtains, I always say this to people, leave the curtains about 30 inches apart. Yeah. And then the sun will come in and wake you up gradually, and it brings you out of sleep. That way you don't wake up all like fog-headed and feeling like crap. So that gives you energy. The sunlight gives you energy because you want to look at the body like an electrical system, really. First off, that's just how the body is. Mainly it runs on electricity. Your soul is pretty much electrical. The cool thing about the soul is it has the ability to change frequency. It can actually shift between different forms of electricity. And that is why it's so malleable within the physical body, the astral body, and the mental and etheric body, and the emotional body. It's brilliant. It's like water. You freeze it, it changes structure. You heat it up, it turns into a gas. The soul is pretty much very dynamic in that way. So you stare at the sun, and this light comes in. It boosts up your soul. Obviously, it hits the retina of your eye, goes into your nervous system, and it pretty much supercharges your organs. Now, there are other side effects. It not only supercharges your organs, but it also supercharges, like I said, your soul, because your soul is a form of light. So you're basically converting the sunlight into energy, or solar energy, right? In a way. You don't really notice that, though, really. I mean, not unless it's daytime and you're trying to get to sleep, but you can't because you can see the sun through your eyelids, and that's keeping you awake. That feeling is you feeling the body consuming energy in that way. Remember, I said it's not like eating food. You're used to eating food. You're used to eating it and it's coming out the other end. You're used to the metabolizing process. But light, it's different when it comes to the anatomy of the body and the other bodies. Now, the breath is another way of accumulating energy out of your nearby environment. If you've ever held your breath for a long period of time, your brain's going to hurt for starters. It's the first organ that actually hurts. And I've recently done a meditation. It was about 2 days ago now. No, it wasn't. It was yesterday. It was yesterday morning. It feels like 2 days. Whereby I was just letting my body regulate its breathing patterns. And then by doing so, I was able to notice when the oxygen came in and then it flowed through my system and attended my brain. And when I exhaled, there was a moment where it was like a ticking time bomb. It was ease, it was ease, it was ease, it was dis-ease. It was getting more and more, I guess, annoyed with the fact that it didn't have enough oxygen. I could feel it becoming irritated, my brain. And then I took a breath, and then very quickly, it recharged my brain again. And then there was that 1, 2, 3, 4 moment where my brain just craved oxygen. And then I took a breath again. And I noticed that is what is meant by consuming oxygen. It's the feeling of the organs metabolizing, in a sense, it using the oxygen out of the air. So when you can tune into that feeling, then you know what it's like to consume energy on that level. And again, it's different from the sunlight, and it's different from eating food, metabolism and so forth. Then I realized the fact that, my brain is pretty obvious that I can feel it starving for oxygen. So I just had a thought, what if the audio wasn't working, but it's fine. I thought to myself, okay, I'm noticing that my brain is starving for oxygen every time I take a breath. That's what's making me take another breath. So what else in the body is possibly craving oxygen? So I scanned my body, and I noticed this big, tension point in the body, which was craving oxygen. Every fourth breath that I took, it needed an update. It needed more oxygen. And that was my liver. I was actually noticing when my liver needed oxygen to support its functionality, which was pretty cool. And I focused on that to the point where it became so sensitive that I noticed it to such a high degree, the same amount that I was able to notice my brain starving oxygen. And I noticed, though, the difference was that every fourth time I took a breath, every fourth time, that is when the duration that it was able to stand without having a constant flow of oxygen. It was able to basically the stamina of the organ. There we go. Simple. Brain was 3 seconds. Liver was 8 seconds. I should have just said that in the beginning. So when I noticed that is when I noticed that every new breath I took actually divvied up. It divided itself. I was noticing when my body took a large amount of oxygen, and after every fourth breath, it would take a larger amount of that oxygen that I brought in, and it would send it to my liver. And when it wasn't doing it with every fourth breath, it was dividing it up differently each time and sending it to other organs in the body. Never was there a time where I was taking 2 consecutive breaths, and the oxygen intake and, overall sharing was the same. Never. The body was completely self-regulating. And I noticed this with my intestinal tract, I noticed this with my heart, my lungs, and then the blood cells themselves. So, I'm talking fast, I know. Let's go into it a bit more. That's one way of consuming energy, okay? So what have I talked about so far? The water is also another one. Okay, when you take water, you can literally feel the water in your system going to your brain first. It's always the brain first. And it'll kind of bathe the brain in liquids. And then it'll wash it out, and then it'll go to other organs, That is you also noticing the body utilizing water as a kind of life support. And it's the same when it comes to the body using or taking out the oxygen out of the water. Okay, you also notice that, but that's often easier to notice after you've become very attentive to how the body takes oxygen out of air. Then it's easier to notice it doing the same thing to water. So the body has all of these ways of attaining energy. When it comes to being a breatharian, all you're doing, well, first off, there's no such thing as breatharian. Okay, I'll tell you why in a sec. When you breathe in oxygen, you're taking in like a liter of water, or to 2 liters of water a day. You're exhaling a liter of water. Okay, so really you're like a liquidarian. You're taking it in and you're condensing it into a liquid, a fluid for your body. Okay, other than the oxygen going to the brain and the other organs to support life. Not only that, but air eases your system completely. It eases your organs. It takes out the stress and tension out of your body. It also makes you very, very awake. I've noticed within my meditations that oxygen is for your consciousness. The more oxygen you have, the more aware you are of everything, the better you think. Obviously, you hear this a lot. But once you're actually experiencing it as a knowing, that's how you know that it supports your body, life. So when it comes to you fasting on any kind of form of cultivating energy, what happens is because we're all actually everything, we can do everything basically. All that's happening is we're tipping the scales. Most people, they're mostly into eating denser food. And so like most of their energy consumption is solely reliant on like the heavy meals, and I don't even know if there's got to be people out there like that, but I've never come across someone who can just solely live on heavy meals and actually say for fact that it's given them energy. Because every time I've eaten heavy meals throughout my entire life, even when I was more of a denser person, it only made me feel tired and ill to some degree. But I'd still eat it, obviously, because, mankind, we're the only species that actually goes to the same thing that made us sick the night before. Dogs, cats, other birds, animal species, they don't do that. It's just unheard of in the animal kingdom. So what's happening is when you do a fast from food and you start making your body more hypersensitive to intaking oxygen or fluids, the equilibrium shifts. You may go up from 98% of your energy being food, then starts to dip down to like 30, and your air comes up, so you're becoming better at taking in air. And there are some people out there who just do this all the time, and they practice breatharianism so much, that aspect of taking energy, to the point where it's like in its 90s, the 90s, or I'll just drop it down to about 80% of their energy consumption. The other few percentages is nothing more than water intake from the oxygen or sun sometimes. I mean, there are breatharians out there who only... there's the soul as well, come to think about it. That's another way of attaining energy. You can do it multidimensionally. It's a new way. Well, it's not new, but it's not really spoken of on, live streams or on YouTube. So, yeah. Am I a breatharian? Yeah. Because you don't have to be a breatharian. No, wait a sec. You don't have to only live off air to be considered a breatharian, and that's what most people get wrong in the community, because they come from a one-dimensional mindset, meaning there's only one way to do something, because that's how we've been brought up to believe, that there's only one way to solve an issue, to solve a problem. There's only one way to look at reality, to look at people. I remember the first time I realized that everyone outside of me thought differently from myself. I was like, it sounds silly me saying it, but I went through a large portion of my life thinking that everyone thought the same. That's one dimension. That's what I'm talking about. So these kinds of people can't comprehend what it's like to be a multi-dimensional person, taking in these energies from multi-facets of reality. Water and air, fire, earth, and the soul. Everyone is breatharian on some level. Whether or not you're really good depends on your practices. So yeah, that was a long, drawn-out question. Well, at least now I know exactly what to call this live stream when it comes to the title. Let's look back to the live stream. Spiritual purpose of hair. Okay. It does connect you to other dimensions. It's more like an antenna. It does. I know it for a fact because growing up, me and my brother, we didn't cut our hair straight away. We were born without hair, and we didn't get it cut for years. We actually grew it really long and had it dreadlocked. And those were the most intense spiritual moments within our lives where we saw the most things and done the most things. It wasn't until we had our hair cut off that I realized that it actually cut off quite a large portion of our access to other dimensions. Sam Kingsley just donated €1. Thanks, Sam. Much appreciated. Oh, by the way, guys, I'm only going to be live streaming for like an hour, maybe less. I don't want to go into like 2 hours and a half like I did last time. Someone put Ryan ... What's it like being a twin? Oh, one of the best things and yet one of the worst things ever. Because we get the same questions. At first, when we were kids, it was fine. We never try to trick anyone, and that's another question we get a lot. It's frustrating at that point. We get to a point where we get really annoyed, and then we got older. In our adult years, we just kind of accepted the fact that there were people out there that was going to recite the same script over and over again when they see two people that look alike. And my brother knows that I used to get really annoyed, agitated. And we used to get a taxi back home, and everyone would be looking at us with this annoying grin because a lot of people want to get a rise out of twins when it comes to competition. I hated that because they would do it just to see us try and have a fight, conflict, or try to cause some kind of friction between us, which is like a horrible thing to do. But you'd be surprised how many people do it when they see twins. So that would be one of the things they would say. It's like, oh, who's better at this, or who's taller at that, or who can lift more weights, and who's a better fighter, and all this stuff. And they would pause, and they would watch us for a response. And the only people we were getting mad at was them, And there was a moment where I just didn't say anything. I just looked at the guy like I wanted to rip his head off, to be honest. This was a while ago, though. I'm not like that now. I'm pretty passive-aggressive. But back then, I was eating meat and doing a lot of weight. So, plus I was doing kickboxing, and I didn't know how to deal with my issues through meditation. So I used to buy boxing bags and drill them into my wall and go nuts at that. I used to find ways out of dealing with stress other than meditating back then. But now, completely different person. And that's the one thing a lot of my friends keep pointing out as to how differently we look now, how different our lifestyles are. Because now that we're twins, and I don't eat meat, and I'm into spiritual stuff and astral projecting and all that cool stuff, and I'm self-employed, he is the opposite. So as we got older, as we became adults, we drifted when it comes to how we look. We don't look the same anymore. There are slight similarities, but we don't look the same anymore. You can tell us out pretty easily, And it's fun in the sense that no one knows me on this earth, no matter how many girlfriends I've had, or if I'm ever gonna get a wife, or any best friend, any animal, even my mom or my dad. No one knows me better than my twin brother, and it's the same. with vice versa. No, I know him better than anyone will ever know him. Period. No matter how many times I'm traveling or I'm like away from him, decades can pass and I'll still know him to a T. You know, that's what I love about being a twin. It's that connection. But what else do I love about being a twin? Growing up, we used to be best friends. Like, we used to look at each other and laugh. There was nothing interfering with our communication. And then they separated us in school, which messed up a lot of stuff. I knew what was happening. I was like, oh no, don't do this. Don't separate us, because school is the place where we go to be raised by other children, basically. And I knew for a fact that if he was to go into the class next door to mine, then he would be altered personality-wise, and that did happen, and it continued to happen all the way up through that school, and then we separated into different high schools, and that really did cut our communication, like, not even in half, I mean, like, way down, which kind of sucked. And even now, it's kind of difficult to communicate to him properly. I don't think I'll ever communicate to him the way I used to when we were kids, but yeah, good times, and then there were bad times. Yeah, it was fun. Let's look at more questions. Derek Jump. Ryan, you're closer to God than Jesus. Should I talk about the Jesus experience? Because I've actually met Jesus. I met Jesus. And I was refraining from talking about it on my YouTube channel because I know how the mind reacts to information like this. Oh, if Jesus is real, then all this must be real. All this other stuff must be real, right? And that's why I didn't want to mention it. But do you know what? I'm going to write that down real quick. And I'll get back to it in a sec because it's a long story. I don't want to have you guys writing and just not getting your questions answered because I'm long-winded. Jesus. But yeah, we have a lot in common. Like, me and that thing. Because you'll know why I said thing in a sec. Let's keep scrolling down. More school insights. Did he wear sandals? Yeah, he did. School insights. You mean like... I'd have to really sit on that when it comes to school insights. Maybe I can get the ball rolling and something new will pop out of my mind, from the past. But school, toughest time of my life. And it's the toughest time of my life, was the toughest time of my life, for like no reason. You realize that when you get older. It's like the littlest thing, end of the world to you in school. But you get older and it's like, man. What's with the rabbit? It's a reminder, things get weird when you're me. Jesus is not a thought form. At least not the one I met. Person, being, thing I met. The creator is both man and woman? No and yes. Yes and no. Only when you think about the lower forms of reality, like the dualistic forms of reality, this dimension and other dimensions up. Otherwise, as you get closer to the source of creation, it's not man or woman. Matter of fact, that concept doesn't even exist. And neither does masculine and feminine energy. As you get closer to the source, that concept disappears too. What does S... shall I even say that out loud just in case it means something rude? The selenite crystal, I've only got information on that in my how to use crystals video. Posted that about 3 weeks ago. It's still up there. Can you reincarnate into an AI robot? Only if the AI robot has some kind of biological counterpart to it, i.e. a biological brain, not a digital brain. Technology hasn't gone that far yet. How do you focus? The way you focus is you need to make sure that the thing you're focusing on is more important than all of the things that are distracting you. Violet, Derek Jump says, fire. I've never heard, well, I've heard of it being mentioned like you just did, but I've never actually heard anything else on that. Have you been to Saturn? On Saturn. I've not been on Saturn, but I've been near its rings. I walked space in front of me. It was freaking awesome. It's the fastest way of traveling in the astral realm. You literally collapse the space in front of you, and it's like it's just mind-blowing. It's literally like compressing space in front of you, and then you just take like 3 steps, and there you are, Saturn. Look behind you, the Earth, you can't even see it anymore because the space behind you that was compressed is now bounced back. So fun. Did that by accident. But the way you do it is you just look at a planet and you wish that it was closer, and it just warps everything. How do I go about drinking water? I use distilled water. I use a countertop distiller to distill my water, and I don't really drink that much unless I have to. And I'll know when I have to because, like, for example, the other day I did a salt water flush. I don't even eat salt. I end up throwing up everywhere. It was not a good time, and I could feel it in my brain, and I had to drink distilled water for a couple of days in order to wash it out. Otherwise, I wouldn't really drink that much, which is kind of strange. I do what I feel. If I don't feel like drinking, I won't drink. If I don't feel like eating, I won't eat. And it's the same vice versa. Any tips for beginners grounding for the first time? Depends what you mean by grounding. Do you mean emotionally? Do you mean thought-wise? Or do you mean like energy-wise? Overall, like when you look at a screen of a computer for ages and then you have to ground, otherwise you just feel like fried. Jesus story. When I tell a Jesus story, that's like it. I'll come off the live stream because I know that that's gonna make up the rest of the time. Right now it's 10:03. I'll tell the Jesus story 1:15. It probably take me 15 minutes to talk about. Then I'll end the live stream for you guys. Okay, so right now I'm just gonna spitfire the questions as fast as I can. How to visualize better. When you visualize anything in your mind, you need to encourage yourself. You need to remind yourself not even remind yourself, it's like little updates as to how well it's going. And that really just encourages you to visualize better. Not only that, but it causes your mind subconsciously to focus on the things that are actually working with the meditation and with what you're actually looking at, which then causes those things to become stronger, sharper, crisper. Can you pause time during astral projection? I have not paused time before in the astral realms. I have gone to a dimension which kind of looked opposite. The rain fell up instead of down. And that kind of looked like time was reversing, but it wasn't, because there were still life forms that are moving in real time. But that's the only thing that came close to time slowing down to a pause. Yeah. What does the astral realm look like? It looks like a better version of this dimension. Right now I'm looking around and things are blurry. I've got 20/20 vision. I can see really far. But even right now, everything here to me looks blurry compared to the astral realm. And I only realized that once I came back from the astrals for the first time. These eyes aren't great. Human eyes compared to this one. Someone said, please talk about surrealism. So I first noticed surrealism for the first time when I manifested a 30-day holiday in the Bahamas, and I was standing on the beach, and I was literally staring at my wallpaper for this computer screen. That was surreal. The same thing that I wanted, that I imagined, was right in front of me. And at that point in time, the people in my life, the events, everything that I wanted to happen were actually occurring around me. For the first time, it felt like my head was flipped inside out. It felt like my thoughts were outside and there was nothing going on inside my head. It felt like I was inside a dream. It was so surreal. And ever since then, I started practicing the manifestation methods that I do, that I've taught before, and I have on my website. Ever since then, I found ways to refine it, and life is just getting more and more surreal. Matter of fact, this place moving here was more and more surreal. I'm noticing more moments, more experiences where life is but a dream, you know. $10 donation. Thank you very much. It just says R. I don't know your name. If I ever read the Bible, I've had the Bible read to me. Read to me whilst in Sunday school. I was forced to go to Sunday school. My darker side of the family are very Christian. And they assumed that I was a naughty boy because I couldn't sit still. So it's ridiculous when you think about it. But, you know, struggles of being a kid. You know one thing, but everyone thinks that they know you better than you know yourself. Then at that point, you're in no position to dictate your life, where you're going to end up. So people try to put you into systems to control you based on how they think you're thinking, you know, what they think is wrong with you. They won't listen to you if you're a kid. That's a nice idea. Yeah, but when you get older, people listen. Yeah, I had passages of the Bible read to me. I never disbelieved them, but I never believed them fully neither. I just listened, and at times I would get bored because I could read people really easy. And if someone was reading me a story and I knew that they didn't believe it fully, even if it was the slightest doubt in their being, I'd pick up on that, and then my eyes would wander and I'll get bored, start tapping, because it's less important when someone doesn't believe in their stories, you know. And I'm not saying that everyone's like this, but I can tell when someone's trying to convince themselves. And I mean no disrespect, but just saying, everyone that I've looked through, because I can see through people, has been that way. This soul retrieval thing, that's picking up quite a bit of buzz in the spiritual community. I can do that. Matter of fact, I did that. I didn't even call it that. I call it an integration process, where you integrate these fractured aspects of your mind. You're born whole as a soul. You grow up in the world, people break you down, and you become fractured. You become psychologically, like as a soul, schizophrenic. And there are all these deep parts of your aspects, consciousness-wise, buried in deep layers of your subconscious being inside your body, literally. And I devised a system in which, or a meditation in which, you can go into the body and retrieve these lost aspects of yourself. And when you're there, it's like you're time traveling. It's like you're going to the past. It's like you're going to the future. It's like you're doing all these things, sidestepping in time, quantum realities. There are all these ways of doing it. And I started teaching it. It's a long process. I was teaching it to a bunch of students. And one of them said, "Oh, is it like soul retrieval?" And there's also another meditation I do, which they've likened to Venespa meditation. And they told me how that was done. And I was like, oh, it's funny. There's all these meditations which sound similar. But that's what I would consider is soul retrieval. The way I'm doing it, the way I've heard people talk about it, sounds, you know, like, all right, you know, cool. But it's not something I would jump on simply because I know that what I've done has worked. So it's not something I'm like really passionate about from the standpoint of looking into other people's work. But from the standpoint of what I've done so far, dealing with soul retrieval, integration of the intuition and these other aspects of your mind, because the intuition isn't this part of you that comes with you side by side like a spirit guide as you incarnate in this earth. Your intuition is actually you. Every child who's born is one. They are their intuition. They know everything. And as you're taught these things in an educational system, you start to forget everything. And then you're hurt for the first time, and then it's like boom, you're cut straight in half, and then you create this split, And then you've got this amnesia that just grows as you get older. You get into your teenager state, and then you hear stories about an intuition, this feeling in your gut that knows everything. That's so powerful. That's your higher self. That's an angel. That's this. They call it so many names, but in all actuality, it's you. You know, and that's not to say that there aren't aspects of you in other dimensions that are further along, because there are parallel dimensions where you are also on the same spiritual path, but a bit further ahead, that are assisting you, because there are beings like that. I've met them. But the majority of the time, if you're feeling a gut feeling, it's you. If you know something, if you're getting visions that stem from a gut feeling, it's you, it's your abilities. If it's a being helping you out, it will come straight down into your head, and you'll feel it like off to the side, stuff like that. It won't be in the center, never in the center. Do I like super realistic art? Yeah, I love that. It's amazing. You feel like it's gonna pop out at you. Oh, we've got 4 minutes till Jesus story. I did answer the cannabis thing in the last live stream, yeah. Do I like to dance? I like to dance when... Thanks, D, for the $5 donation. When I feel like dancing. If I don't feel like dancing, someone's telling me to dance, I'm not gonna dance. You know, it's got to be felt. You know, I got to be in the right mindset. I'm not saying, you know, I'm never gonna dance if I'm out. You know, stuff like I dance when I'm out. I haven't been out in a long time, but last time I was out, people thought I was drunk. I didn't even drink alcohol. You know, I just do whatever I want. Recently, though, how I dance as of late is I channel people. Literally, it sounds weird. I discovered that listening to old music, I can actually grasp memories of old people. It's really weird, and that's why I love 80s music and 70s music, sometimes 60s music. It's like I'm actually there, living through their eyes, because, you know, if everyone is the same being, ultimately, you can jump and live someone's life, because it's your life, technically, just another aspect of yourself, the oversoul, experiencing another reality. So I like to tune into people and move here as they moved, and as I moved in that reality. And I find myself doing movements which I later on discover online to be real, and I can feel how they felt when they danced. And as of late, that's why I dance. The only reason is to channel people to like share an experience, you know. And that's what I love doing. And I notice that most people do that by accident anyway. They're just not aware of it. I can sit there and scan people. Once you discover these aspects of yourself, it's very easy to notice it in another person. 2 minutes till the Jesus story. Are you me? If you have a perception, being that you are separate from everyone, and that you still got the... What would you call it? You still have the conditions of what you are, then technically no. But if you're going to look at it from a over perspective, yes. You know, and you're me too. Simple answer of getting over fear to entities: kick their behind. Yeah, you got to face them, really. That's all it is. Most entities are weak anyway. They just pretend to be strong. Oh, we got a minute till the Jesus story. I'm going to have to take a breath before I do this. That's a lot of emojis. Thank you. Love you, bro. It's alright. Human conditioning, yes. A lot of conditioning. So much conditioning. Sometimes you have to take a break from people who are conditioned. How can you tell when manifestation is working? When you're seeing it in front of your eyes. Do crystals help with astral projection? Yes. Only because they help open your third eye. They open your extrasensory perception abilities. They don't cause you to astral project. That I know of. I've not come across a stone that's going to pop out of my body, you know. Do you wake up at 3:33 a.m.? No, I don't. I do. Sometimes I wake up in the threes, but not consistently every night. That's like a horror movie thing, right? I saw it in a movie one time. You're funny. We got a $5 donation, and he asked me a question, so I'm going to have to answer it. And that's dead on the 15 minutes when I was about to go into the Jesus story. Did you give the guy in hell his eyes back? I'm pretty sure he just, manifested a new pair, materialized a new pair of eyes. Okay. Some of these questions, man. Why would you ask that? Why would you ask that? Jesus story time. Okay, Jesus story time. Let me just compose myself. Had to ask. No, not your question, Wonder Wing. Wonder Twig. Wonder Twig? It is Wonder Twig. No, not that question. I couldn't see that question. There's another question. That from Earth Sky. Like, come on, man. Come on, eh? I wish there was a way for me to record these. Don't talk about Jesus. I'm going to talk about Jesus. Brace yourself. I'm about to blow your mind. No, but if you're not ready for this, then you should probably not watch this live stream. Get on with it. Okay, you're distracting me. Let me get on with it. You're distracting me. Come on now. Okay, I'm gonna not look at the comments. I want to go on with it. So, let's throw my mind back to the beginning of when I first had the experience. It was a while ago, so I have to remember it piece by piece. There was a main point that I wanted to share in the video. I need to bring back up. Ah, there it is. Let me write that down. Okay, ready? Here we go. So, basically, being connected to everyone and everything, not bragging, but when you're connected, when you can see through people, you know a lot, and sometimes even when you know a lot, it doesn't help. Sometimes people say the truth will set you free. Doesn't always work out that way. There was a time where I was getting highly misunderstood by a lot of people, and I was getting a lot of hate on social media, not just pertaining to who I am as a person, but in other areas of my life, people just always misunderstood me, and they acted upon what they thought, and they would say certain things, they wouldn't hold back, and it bothered me. I looked at them, and I knew why they were doing it. They were doing it because from the information they've gathered from their life experience, they're using that to determine who I am. They've not spent time with me. They barely know me. Even if they watch me on YouTube, they don't know hardly anything about me, So people have this kind of assuming calibration system within their mindset with every individual. If you're blonde, they're going to assume that they know what you're like. If you speak a certain way, have certain mannerisms, they're going to assume that they know how you speak, how you interact with people. They're going to basically build a storyline for you, which has nothing to do with who you are. I knew that, and I thought knowing that would help. Didn't help. And then what I did was I decided to astral project. After meditating on it for ages, it's not getting any better. I decided to astral project, and I ended up, you just want the Jesus story, because there's a long, skip that piece. Okay, I materialized myself I was summoned, in a sense, into a church. Yeah, my astral body was summoned into a church. Then, okay, the church was little. It wasn't huge. It was little. I was at the back. And as I materialized myself, the noises got louder. You know, the yelling and everything that they were doing in the church, they were really amped up. And instantly, I didn't feel comfortable. I never feel comfortable in churches. Matter of fact, I went to one recently, and that was because there was bodies buried underneath it. It was draining me, you know. So I'm in the church, and everyone's saying as to how Jesus is going to arrive, and the pastor, Bolognese, pastor. I'm just going to call it the pastor. I'm going to call it that. Pastor woman was preaching. You know, the preacher woman was preaching, talking about how Jesus was going to show up. He shows up every Friday, right? And I'm stood there thinking, really? Jesus? Come on. Really? Okay. I'll hang out. I'll see what happens, you know. I'm not going to say he's not going to show up. I mean, they're so excited. And they said every week he shows up. So I thought, I'll hang around then. This is what happened, okay. A blue orb, pretty big, came out the side of the wall. And the guy walked through the wall. Like, he walked through the wall. He was shorter than I expected. Much shorter. Skin was a little darker than I thought it would be. Hair was a little darker as well. Still brown, just dark brown. It came to about yay high. His nose was kind of bulbousy here, you know. Quite a square jaw. His head was wider than it is in the photos that you see on Earth. And he instantly notices me. He spots me out. Just looks straight at me. And when he looked straight at me, basically all the noise in the room fell deaf. It just went silent. You know? And this is where it gets really cool. Because I look at him and he looks at me. And every time I go into the astral realm, I communicate with beings telepathically. The thing is when I looked at him and he looked at me, it felt like we were the same person in the same room. You know? There was a moment where very quickly our egos fell to the wayside and his suit, his face, his body, his clothing fractured off of his body. It basically just exploded. It didn't go all over the walls or anything. It wasn't bloody or disgusting. But it basically revealed light, what he was, a light being. And his meat suit was just like digitalized outside of him. And I looked down at myself and the same thing had happened to me. I didn't even notice it, you know, because I was too focused on him, thinking how cool that looks. And I noticed that we looked the same, you know. And then what happens is our energy begins to merge. And as our energies merge, basically we integrated, you know. When everyone goes back to source creation, you begin to realize that you are everyone around you. Each dimension you go to, you are everyone. It's just them. So you experience not their life anymore, because now it's your life. And what happened was I got to experience who he was. Well, at that time I said who I was, what my beliefs were, my overstanding on Christianity and everything like that. Because pretty much lived it, right? You know, well, not Christianity itself. I think that was formed. Was it formed after? I don't know. His mind was elsewhere during those times. What else did I pull from his mind? I only got to pull from the memories that I had. You know, even speaking it now, I keep referring to it as that I chose to look at. You know, because like I said earlier, I was raised pretty much by Christians, half my family Christians. So I had some of the stories stuck in my head, and I wanted to confirm. So I went to the stories and to see if they were accurate. And there was a little slither of his consciousness that didn't completely integrate with me just yet. And I basically, when you talk to yourself in your head, trying to think about other ways of fixing your problems. Well, that slither did the same thing, and we looked back at the issue I had, why everyone always looks at me in a certain way and everything like that. And instantly I knew the question, I already knew the answer. It was, everyone projects their opinions on who you are and who I am all the time. They're doing that because it supports their life story as it is right then and there, okay? Their life story influences them heavily. It influences their decision making, their path in life, their spiritual progress, everything, So the reality is that Jesus, he doesn't refer to himself as Jesus. He told me that people refer to him as Jesus and other names. He never attached his identity to the word Jesus. Even how he looked, never attached his identity to how he looked. He used to shapeshift. He never looked the same all the time. Okay? He never referred to himself as human because it knew that it wasn't. It would refer to himself as Son of God because it was an aspect of source consciousness. And when he said that everyone is God's children, he didn't mean that in like a biological sense. He meant that from a soul sense. You're all aspects of that one source. You're all drops of water from that one ocean. Okay? When he said dying for your sins, he didn't mean it literally neither. There was another thing he meant. I'm just reading the comments now. Okay. Dying for your sins. What he meant by that was, people nowadays, they do things and they think it's sinful, but it's actually not in the eyes of the Lord or God. Source consciousness doesn't look at it as sinful at all. And yet people running around on earth thinking that they're going to hell because they're doing a lot of bad things, they're thinking themselves into that kind of form of judgment. And it's the same with Judgment Day. That's another thing I pulled from my mind when I was integrated with him. Judgment Day is nothing more than the moment that you judge yourself. No one's judging you. No one decides where you go. It's all based on you and how you view yourself. So, sin-wise, he understood that. Okay? He also understood that if he had died, he would emanate a huge explosion of his consciousness to the grid or the etheric cloud, which later on in time, because it was blocked off, would trickle down like water and go into the heads of us. And then we will get epiphanies as to what a sin actually is, and then we'll be absolved of our sins. We'll basically realize that, wait a second, that wasn't a sin. There's nothing wrong with that. Because from our perspective, we would figure it out, right? Like an epiphany and in a knowing. We would all of a sudden discover what was actually going on and that we shouldn't feel ashamed for doing certain things. So when he said he died for our sins, what he was actually talking about was he was putting out a download to update our consciousness within a later point in time. Yeah? The generation that was around at the time of his death, they weren't supposed to get the upload because they needed to keep their ideals and their beliefs in place for a time in order to make way for how we are. Okay, we're supposed to get the uploads and the generation just before us, yeah? And all of the new generations. As we figure it out, the more they'll figure it out. Because no thought is our own, it's all shared. So the reality is people judge other people because it's important for their spiritual progression. Even if they're wrong, it's important for them to be triggered in a certain way. No one really ever gets you. You'll be lucky if you live your entire life with someone actually understanding who you are and how you feel as an individual, technically, aspect of source, experiencing its own individual experience, because no one aspect of source can have the exact same experience, which is so cool. You can have two people in the same room watching a movie, and obviously they're going to come away from that movie theater looking at life differently, looking at the movie differently. It's going to impact them differently, in different ways. Same with two people sitting on a swing. They're not going to be thinking about the same thoughts, even their vantage point isn't going to be the same. So that helped me get over the fact that, and it may sound weird, but no one's ever going to get me, and that's fine. They're not supposed to. Literally, they're not here to get me. They're not here to get you, in a way. They may understand you to a degree, but they'll never really know who you are. Only you would know who you are. And I was okay with that, because life isn't set up so that everyone understands everyone to a T. That's not how we're supposed to be living our lives. We're not supposed to be wondering or worrying about how other people think about us. So, yeah, then we separated again, and the preacher woman said, here are the lineup of children. Yeah, it's going to sound like a ritual now, doesn't it? It's no ritual. Basically, he showed up to take on an apprentice. Yeah, to take on an apprentice. He wanted to teach the apprentice everything he had known. That's a lot of information. Yeah, and I believe that everyone who was there had passed on, and they were in a church, and he was showing up, or it was showing up, because like I said, it didn't have a gender, it didn't refer to itself as human or even Jesus, but for their sake it did, and the woman said, okay, here are the section of assistants, and he said no. He said, I've already picked my assistant. It's him. Pointed straight at me, right? And I'm thinking, yeah, cool. This is pretty awesome. I'm gonna be honest. In my mind, I was thinking that, but my face was dumbfounded. And she looked at me. And the thing is, in the astral dimension is beings' energies, their emotions are heightened. She got so mad at me. She ran at me and pushed me out of the dimension. And I'm back here in 3D thinking, like, crap, what the heck? And then I think, okay, let's go back to the astral realm. So I close my eyes, I project back out my body, and I go back to the church. Some time had passed. I didn't project straight away. All the people were gone. And he had shown up around the corner in his sandals. Yes, he was in sandals for those of you over there. And he had told me that, where were you? You were supposed to be waiting until everything was said and done so that I can help you out. Where were you? He was kind of, he felt disappointed. It's kind of weird, but I guess he was just disappointed with the fact that we didn't have that opportunity to converse the way he wanted to, straight after everything was said and done. And then I slipped. I've been in the astrals for a long time. Before I went to the church, I had a huge experience dealing with a multidimensional being. I was wandering in the woods because I was bored, and he literally cracked a crack open in space-time and said, hey, do you want to see something interesting? And he took me off to all these other dimensions. And that was before I saw Jesus. So I was tired, I was exhausted. I couldn't stay in the astrals any longer. And I just faded away, seeing his face, looking disappointed. And that was it. That was my meeting with Jesus. You don't have to believe me. It's just my experience. I can't stop myself from believing that because it's what happened. I know that right now a lot of people are going to be blowing up in the questions, and this is one of the reasons as to why I didn't want to mention it on YouTube. But like I said, yeah, a lot of people can shapeshift in the astral dimension. They can make themselves invisible. They can do anything they want. But there are ways to know who they are, to make sure that they are who they say they are. But, yeah. I've not met Buddha in the astral realm. I have met a monkey god. It was a deity. And I've met a siren. The female birds. Bird head. No, not bird head. Human head with bird wings. I've also met Osiris, the jackal, but he wasn't black, he was white. He helped me out in the astral realm. And I've also met blue beings with the piercings and everything with the long ears that you'll see in a lot of Hindu religions, I think it is. With the pink palms. Osiris, my man. Or is it Anubis? Thoth? Oh, you're asking me. I haven't met Thoth. The Monkey King? Not the Monkey King as it's known in China, I don't think. This was something else. I've also met giants. Not human giants, I mean energy giants. There are some entities, astral beings, that have so much energy in these dimensions that they are freaking huge and they are very advanced, you know. One of them actually said that I was exactly the same as them, power-wise. I was just in a little package on Earth. Because I popped into his dimension and I started reading his mind, pulling data. He noticed it straight away. He said, don't do it. He didn't get mad, but he was very firm with me. He said, stop doing that, because there are things that you're not supposed to know, you know? So I was like, oh, okay. Just looking up. By the way, comparison-wise, I stood up near his ankle. Like, top of my head was at his ankle, okay? This thing was huge, and there was 4 of them. I've also met a frog that could walk on 2 legs. He was like 5 foot tall. That was in China. And I met a baby with black eyes, and he had like a sigil on his belly and a huge black snake around him. He was speaking to the snake. I met him in Turkey. I do see dead people in the 3rd dimension. Death feels like life, literally, and it feels so good. Not encouraging that. I mean, like, death astral projection wise feels good. Feels great. Feels lighter. Feel like you can breathe for the first time, even though you don't actually breathe. Okay, I think that's it, guys. I'm gonna go over to the super chat to see the other comments that people said whilst they were donating, because I did see a couple of donations run in. I'm going to answer these and then I'm going to end. It has been an hour, I believe. $2. Do you like to dance? Love and light, brother. Love and light. Yeah, I do. I love it. I was dancing today on the street, listening to music, picking blackberries. Couldn't help myself. I was like twisting around and gee, oh, man. And you know, I've gotten past people getting upset with me being happy. I've gotten past that now. I'm going to continue to dance even if they're looking down at me. I'm past that. $10 says, these live streams are the best. Thanks, RH. My day was super depressing and you made it 1,000 times better. Happy in tears. Thank you immensely, Exo Reem. Thanks. I'm so... That actually made my day a bit more. That's... Thanks. Ben, $2. Ryan, do clones have souls? Yeah. I believe they do. Maybe not human souls, but a soul is a soul either way. If it's looking at you, talking to you, it's some form of consciousness, it's a soul. Artificially created, then it could be a thought form. However that's done, am I too sure about how that's done? I could probably think about it, but I'm not sure how it's being... Am I not too sure? I'm not too sure on how it's being done nowadays, put it that way. $5 donation from Deja Vu. Thank you very much, Deja Vu. That was at 10 o'clock. $5 from Wonder Twig. Did you give the guy in hell... Oh, there's his eyes back. Yeah, I talked about that already. I did. If you guys want to check out my hell video, you can. There's a couple of them. Thomas Walker. $5. Your videos have made my life easier. And to start overcoming my anxiety, depression. Keep up the excellent work. Thanks very much, Thomas. Because, you know, I love doing the psychological ones. Like the overcoming things, you know, depression stuff. Because I've gone through a lot of crap growing up. And I had to find my way out myself. I wasn't one to just speak to people openly about my problems. I never have been. So I had to deal with it. And I like making videos on it because I know it's going to help somebody. But, and there's always a but, they don't do that well. Maybe I just need more of them, you know? Maybe I just need like 1,000 videos on self-help. And then they'll do well. But then saying that, it could just be a matter of perspective. Because nowadays they get up to around about 5,000 views. Which isn't much. based on what I'm comparing it to. But back when I first started, 5,000 was like everything, right? I just need to think about it differently. Tom Jones. Huh. His name sounds familiar. $20. Thanks. I sometimes wake up in SP, sleep paralysis, after focusing on something in a lucid dream, and my head feels like it's flipping inside out and rushing feeling. That's more than normal if you're trying to astral project. Or maybe you're just having a spontaneous awakening. This pretty much sounds like it. No one can go from a dream, and then whilst being in the dream, go into an astral projection whilst you're inside the dream. It doesn't work. You have to come back in sleep paralysis, and that's the same for lucid dreaming as well. So you're on the cusp of developing astral projection. You're having energy centers wake up inside of your body, which are allowing you to do these phenomenal things. Phenomenal. Ben, $2. Can astral sex result in astral offspring? From what I've heard from a story I heard from somebody who I may not mention, yes. From my experience, never tried it. For offspring, no. And Zay James just donated $5 a minute ago. Thank you very much. Thank you. Oh, thank you. What's this? Why don't you use your intro with the really cool music anymore? Because no one. You like it, I love it. People like it, but not everyone likes it. I look at my statistics. And when I used to use the intro, the drop rate, it basically people tune in and just go, poof, and then it will level out. When they're literally on 12 seconds to 30 seconds when the intros would stop. So the intro was actually stopping people from watching my videos. So I stopped doing it. Tips on opening the crown chakra. That's a $2 donation. Thank you very much, Zay James. Just put your awareness on the crown of your head to the point where you're feeling a pulsating feeling, and try to fall asleep like that. Whenever I've done that in the past, I've gotten it felt like maggots were under my skin, sharp pains, like thorns were on my head. All these signs that the crown is opening, that chakra point. I've not done it as of late. Once I started doing it, it kind of just pretty much stayed the way it is in its condition. I could do more to it to make it better, but as of late, it's just the way it is, Things will never be the same. Use the intro again as an outro. Yeah, I was thinking about that a while ago. The intro as an outro. Does it work? It doesn't really work, because it starts off like din, 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 and then it kind of simmers down. An outro, it starts off low, comes up, and then goes really low. You probably think a new video is gonna start. Any books I recommend, says Diego Clen, for becoming better in spirituality. I can't recommend any that I know of because I haven't read any for spiritual reasons. I get buckets. I remember you on Periscope. I don't think it works, he said. It'll be fine. Have you ever talked to God? God itself, as an entity that everyone knows or thinks they know, doesn't exist at all. Not even in a thought form state. Maybe inside their heads, but it doesn't exist. There are other deities that exist based on thought forms, but I have become source consciousness, which is what I would call God. It's the consciousness that permeates anything in existence. It's everywhere. It's you. It's the atoms in this. Probably shouldn't knock on the wall. My neighbor could hear me, but it literally is. I'd say that's God. I mean, I'll probably use another word for it, but I've become it through breakthroughs, through meditation. It's when you lose your ego and you go straight back to source consciousness. It's terrifying because you go through an ego death and then you go through an emotional death, which is very scary because you think you're going to die, and then you get straight back to source consciousness and time warps. I've made videos on that also, a DMT experience, because I also got there whilst taking DMT externally alongside my astral projections. New videos on love. People all over the world. That was a good song. That's a good video. I love that video. The camera was great. I don't think I need to. I think everything I did was great so far when it comes to the love video. I don't think I need to add any more information on that. Do you still keep up with Derek Dunlap? He the man. In a way, we do. Energetically, I can always tune in and feel how he's feeling. I can tune into him now, actually. I've been doing it for a couple of days. I can feel how he's feeling. He's probably going to contact me soon. But yeah, we talk things out. You know, we discuss life and stuff. He's quite busy nowadays. So we can make time to speak to each other. But the thing is, when you make good friends like that, you can spend time away from them and be completely fine. Because you know that they're going to be thinking of you, stuff like that. You know, it's fine. It's like your best friend. You can not see them for like a year, right? I've got friends like that, and then you see them, and it's like you pick up from where you left off. There's no issue there. It's like that with me and Derek so far at the moment. Love train. Let's start a love train. Yo, duh. I feel good. How did you get over the fear of being deeper into meditations? Here's the thing. Usually you're afraid of getting deeper into meditations, like I used to be, because you feel like you're going to lose yourself, right? How are you going to find your way back if you're going so deep? You got to build competence. Competence is basically you knowing that you can come back because you've done it so many times before. It's not to be confused with confidence, you know? That's actually how I got over speaking to a lot of people growing up. I used competence, not confidence. For a time I didn't even believe in confidence. I didn't know what it was. It didn't make sense to me. Competence made a lot of sense. You do something so many times that it constantly confirms to you that you can come back from meditation, or that you can talk to somebody, or that you're fine as you are. You know, in any way, shape or form, you know, as a person. And that builds a kind of foundation to you knowing that you can do anything. That's how you would do it with meditation. Build competence. Go a little deeper, then just come back and notice. Congratulate yourself. I came back. It's easy. I can do it. Go a bit deeper, come back. Go a bit deeper, come back. Go a bit deeper, come back. And then just keep going and going and going. Heck, you can test yourself. You can get rid of your memories if you get really good. Forget where you come from. You'll be gone for ages. If you set the intention, though, that it was okay, because that's what you wanted to do, that's what you set out to do at the start, then you can go so deep. You can forget who you are, and you can experience ego death through meditation. And you won't be afraid. Oh, we got a donation of $1 from Denzel Fortune. Thank you very much, Denzel. $5 also from Maria Ray. Thank you very much. I experience shock, twitching, sensations all over, especially when I focus on myself. Why? I understand that it connects. I understand that connection of close friends. Awesome. That is because you're focusing on your body, which allows the body. When you focus on the physical body, whether it be through breathing, trying to deepen your breath, or noticing, paying attention to your hand or feet, you're basically putting your mind in your nervous system. That makes your nervous system hypersensitive. You're going to feel pain. You're going to have spasms, twitches. It's not going to be a good time. It's always best to avoid that meditation. We got another donation from Zay James, $2. Any advice on conversing with guides in 3D? I made a video on it, how to communicate to spirit guides. It's a long, lengthy video. I don't want to go into detail on it here, just in case I missed something. But in that, I made a script, so there's a lot of info there on that topic. Yep. My hand hurts. My hair is so curly. Look at it. It's insane. I should stop swallowing air. It's no good. I I have considered doing vlogs. Well, but how do you say your name? Oh, wow. Yeah, I used to do vlogs. I got a section on my YouTube channel called vlogs. Actually, vlogging. It's just vlogs. Me in the Bahamas. It's like a whole movie. It's pretty cool. I loved it. It spent me ages to edit. One of them actually took me 4 days. I swam with sharks. Swam with sharks. That's my good times. Good times. I got one more question, then I'm gone. Jeez, I said that like half an hour ago. No, I didn't. I said that 15 minutes and 39 seconds ago. I got time over there. Oh, now it's blowing up. Is this going up, this video? Yeah. Yeah, it should do. We'll see. I don't see no reason for it not to. I'll title it Breatharianism. No. Jesus. No. Jesus? Meeting Jesus? Is Jesus real? It's gotta be catchy. And then Breatharianism. What really Breatharianism actually is. Someone just said, I'm back. Sorry. I'm about to go. Am I going to carnival? Carnival where? What carnival? What do you think about chakras? I made a video on that. What's time right now? It's 10:52. Well, these ones will have loaded answers. I'm just gonna go with the fear. Ryan, what's your opinion? Oh, and I got donations. I have to address that afterwards as well. The question attached to that. Fear. What's my opinion on fear? Fear is brilliant. Okay, for so many reasons. It's also not so good if you're triggering it for the wrong reasons. Triggering it from the wrong reasons are you going into states of your imagination where you're thinking about the worst of every situation, which has never happened. Never happened in my life. That's what stopped me from doing that. That negative habit. Fear will cause you to act. I mentioned on my Facebook page, Ryan Cropper, that there are two motivations in life which will cause you to move mountains. Love and fear. Fear will make you move house. It'll make you work your ass off to make money to do certain things. The fear of losing something, the fear of never being able to do anything in life will light a fire under you. Love will do the same thing. You'll move countries for love. You'll move out of your house if you were in love enough. Like today, pack our things and leave to be with someone. You will change your beliefs. You will put aside your morals sometimes, and that's when it gets a bit dangerous. But if your morals are wrong, then... But who's ever thought that morals were wrong? I mean, I've always thought of a positive connotation when it comes to morals. But you do a lot for love. So fear, I think, is good in healthy dosage. In a healthy dosage. You can trick yourself with fear if you know it's going to motivate you. And that's fine. As long as you don't fully believe in it, because you don't want to overdo it and start believing in the fear-based thoughts you've just created to motivate you, then it's a bad idea. Fear is also really good animalistic-wise when it comes to your body. If you had no fear, you're going to walk off a cliff and die. You're going to walk in front of a car. You're going to walk in front of a fist. You're going to walk in front of a gang fight. You're going to walk in front of a tiger. You're going to start eating poisonous berries. You're going to start doing a lot of things because you're not afraid of dying, or you're not afraid of the consequences. Fear keeps you alive, okay? I don't think it's bad. The only way I'd see it ever resulting in a bad outcome, like I said earlier, is when you think yourself into a mindset which is different from what's actually going on, and that causes fear in the body, and you can't get out of that mindset. It becomes an entrapment. Okay, so last one, $5. Will you be my mentor? Says Zay James. Yeah, Zay, I'll be your mentor. I teach this stuff. I teach a lot of things, from astral projection, ascension, psychology, relationship advice even. Yeah, this guy. And what else do I teach? Nutrition, all that stuff. I teach it. And you can find out more information on how to become a student on www.ryancropper.com. You can go over to, just click on online courses. Don't click on my products. That's for people who have bought products like the astral projection product, the videos, or the manifestation one, the memory mastery one, the other things there. Click on online courses, and then you'll be taken to a page. Scroll down, and you can send me an email, and that will go to an email address, which is Ryan_J, for James, _Cropper, CROPPER, then it's at live.co.uk. That's my business email. It's for clients only. I don't answer questions there. I only answer questions here. Okay. So yeah, it's gonna be about it, guys. Thanks for watching. Those of you who have stayed through all the way, the 390 of you that are here right now, and even the others that have chimed in earlier on. I'm Ryan Jizzy. Ryan James. Trying to time this right. Cropper. This has been Your Potential. I'll speak to you pretty soon. Peace.